because I'm on a live chat. Thank you.
Represents the greatest cities in the world. East Point, College Park. We're not going to stop. We are in there for you. You know what? We're going to deal with not only the systemic racism, but the racism up under that gold dome. And we will not stop until it's done. Good morning. My name is State Representative Rhonda Bernard, and I represent Clayton County. And this is the best day that I've ever had at the Capitol, just to see my people here fighting for justice. We are here for you. Thank you, and make sure you keep coming every day. We're here 11 days, so we got 10 more days to come. Thank you. Hello. No justice. No peace. I'm here for my son, I'm here for my husband, I'm here for my brother, and I'm here for my black daughter. We are here working for you. The reason why we're here today is because we cannot get legislation passed with no one here. We need you.
No peace.
Thank you so much. Now, brothers and sisters, let me do a couple of things real quick. First of all, everybody who's here from Augusta, raise your hand. Anybody here from Augusta? We need you to do us a big favor. This may be the most important thing you've heard today. House Bill 426 had to be approved by the Senate. It had to go through the Senate Judiciary Committee. The chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee is Senator Jesse Stone, who represents Augusta. Senator Stone has not yet agreed to post this bill for a hearing. he all by himself can decide not to post this bill for a hearing or for a vote. Now, I want you all, however you can get it, look it up, Google it, whatever, get Senator Stone's number, call him and tell him to get some sense and post this bill for a hearing and for a vote. And we need you to do that. Second thing, I invited both of Georgia's senators to this rally to support hate crimes legislation. Neither one of them responded, so they had a chance. Well, I'm happy today to have a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate who's come not to just talk, but to show his support for hate crimes legislation. Let me say it again. I invited both of Georgia's senators. Neither one responded. Neither one of them showed up. John Ossoff showed up.
Does not the United States Constitution guarantee every citizen equal protection under the law? Does not our United States Constitution meant to protect every citizen's right to vote? So where are these politicians who hide in this building and who don't respond to an invitation to address you when they keep talking about our Constitution, but we don't have equal protection under the law, and we have not secured the right to vote? Y'all standing right here are showing your power to make demands from those who represent you in high office. And I will never know how it feels to have black skin in America. But let me tell you this, I will fight with you and march with you every step of the way. And y'all ready to see in this country a new Civil Rights Act that will defend the civil and constitutional and human rights of every single American, no matter race, no matter class. Are you ready for a Rights Act? And are you ready in America to pass a new Voting Rights Act to defend every single American's right to vote? You see, let me just close you with this. In this state, who don't want us to vote, they don't want us to define our own future. They don't want us to decide who makes decisions on our behalf in buildings like this one. And what I saw on Tuesday was a disgrace and an embarrassment. It was an affront to the principles of our Constitution. And it was an attack on all of us. But you know what else I saw? People standing there for 6 hours in the rain. I saw people standing up for themselves and going to ask those poll workers where their provisional ballots were, why they were being, and when they would be able to vote. And so the folks in this building looking out and trembling with fear at all of you right now, they need to know we're ready to wait 6 hours if you force us to. We're ready to sit 2 weeks if you force us to. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you to Georgia's NAACP. Thank you to Reverend James. Y'all are doing God's work. Much love, Atlanta.
Now, my brother and my sister, good friend of mine, we serve on several boards together. Roger Bruce. All right, everybody.
Yeah, that was John. Still having technical issues.
Come here. All right, let's go. I'm going to take this thing. He said that the legislators were in there. I'm out here. With you. I stood at those polls. I stood out there for 4, 5, 6 hours helping people. We took them water, we took them food, and I was proud to see that they stood out there in spite of all the attempts to stop them from voting on election day. I have a piece of legislation that I want all of you guys to pay attention to. The piece of legislation will allow you to vote at any precinct. At any precinct in your district on election day. There's no need to be able to have a provisional ballot. You go in there, you give them your address, and they'll give you the ballot associated with your address. You vote and you go home. Pay attention to it. We're going to be pushing it, and we're going to need your help to push it through. God bless all of you. I love you, and I'm so proud to see you out here. This is a wonderful sight. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, my sisters and my brothers, let me say I am so pleased that this is such a diverse crowd that's gathered here today. We got a message to send to Georgia. We are in this together. Give yourselves another hand. Now, Mr. Brother, we got another state representative, and I'm extremely proud of this one. Now, this young lady is not only one of our state senators, but she also happens to be the state chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia. She was willing to go to prison for what she believed in. And on top of that, they've got so much money out of me this election season, I can't wait till November comes. But I am so happy to have Senator Nikema Williams. Give her a big hand.
Thank you so much, Bishop. I am State Senator Nikema Williams, and I'm honored to be the first Black woman to serve as chair of the I stood in line for 5 hours on the last day of early voting, having not received my absentee ballot that I requested in March on my 10-year wedding anniversary. Help is on the way, y'all. I want you to know that I hear you, I see you, I feel your pain. I live this Black experience with you every day as I raise my young Black son in this country. And I will not stop until we pass meaningful legislation to move us forward. I have a host of bills on my desk right now that I just signed this morning, and we're introducing them today. One of which is removing Jefferson Davis's birthday as a state holiday. Another one is ending qualified immunity for police so that they are not responsible for their actions. We're also changing our voting laws, y'all, so that you can show up on election day and register to vote on the day of, like so many. Thank you for being here. To the Capitol and get to work for y'all. Hold me accountable. Keep me apprised. Let me know what I can do for you because I work for you. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, now I'm going to turn this over to Brother Keith. He has a very important announcement. I want to thank all of you all again who come. Reverend, come on, NAACP President. Anything else? Now, I've got to go meet with the Lieutenant Governor on this hate crime bill. I'm going to try to pray for me.
You can do it! You can do it!
Because I do believe in the laying on of hands. He didn't do the right thing. There might be some hands all again for everything. And remember, the fight is still on. The fight is still on. All right. Let us bow our heads in the word of prayer. Lord God, we thank you for this day which you have provided.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you for this opportunity. Your people, lovers of justice and equality, have gathered in front of the Georgia State House, determined that we're going to turn Georgia upside down. When we turn it upside down, we're going to make it right side up. Lord, help us now. That we'll pass a hate crimes bill. That we will bring down these Confederate monuments. That we will do away with citizens' arrest. That we would get our voting system right so that every vote will count. Now give us fresh faith and courage for the facing of these days. Lord, we thank you for being with us. And we believe that the victory has already been guaranteed. So Lord, thank you for everybody. Black, white, brown, Hispanic, Asian, everybody who's come today to support this cause. In your name we ask it all. Amen. Let's hear it up.
Hey, I want to give everybody out here my phone number and our website. Like I said, this does not stop today. We got to be at every city council meeting. We got to be in our mayor's office. We got to be back here when they, not just when they voting, but when somebody's speaking in their ear to tell them what we need in our community. How many people want your children to grow up in a world where they don't have to fight for their justice? They already got it. Y'all want that? It's our job to get it for them in. Are y'all ready to take my number? 404-576-8828. That's 404-576-8828. We will find out who the people are in your county or your city who make your decisions. So if you got problems with your school board, we will find out when the school board meetings are. If you got problems with your commissioner, we'll find out when they meet. We gotta show up and we gotta disrupt where the decisions are made at. Do y'all get what I'm saying? So we can't just do this today. We have to do it every day until the laws protect each and every person. Until the school on Bankhead has the same opportunities as the school on Northside Drive. Okay? Our website is makingthetransition.org. We'll be here every week. If you need to know who the person is in your county that is holding up the movement for your children and your family, you text us and we'll find out, okay? All right, y'all, be blessed. But look, we don't do this unless we do it together as a team. So the same way we came out today, we got to come out when somebody's getting locked up, when they didn't do anything, or when somebody gets 10 years and somebody else got probation. My name is Keith Strickland.
One quick second. Wait a minute.
gonna be all right. Yeah.
All right, one quick announcement. Sorry for the confusion. We don't do confusion. We rebuke anything that's confusion. All right, so just one quick announcement that I have to make. As we are fighting for equal justice, the hate crime bill passed, one thing we got to keep in mind is reparation. And what is reparation? Say, for example, that your parents worked for a company for 20 years or so, and they died. And however, the company got audited, and through the audit, they found out that the company wasn't paying your parents, along with other people. So that is considered reparation. And let me just say this. They've been fighting for reparation for years. For years, and it's been kicked aside, just like the hate bill crime. It's been kicked aside. But what God told me to say, to tell you guys, that when you sitting up there toying all this time to try to catch fish, to toss your nets on the other side and try again. It's just like the persistent widow. Keep going to the king and making her demands known. Try again. Reparation. Thank you.
Check.
How you doing? So that was our last speaker. We appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much. I don't know if y'all want to march, go grab some food or something. The NAACP is coming to speak.
these lynchings before they took this platform. It should have been here. They should have been here. They should have not took a platform and they did not vote. Shame on them. When we have a platform, we use it for good, not for lies. Where were they last week? Where were they with Ahmaud Arbery? Oh, we're going to cause another platform. We're causing another platform. Because when there is no justice, there is no peace.
I know y'all don't know, but once again, like Rashad Brooks, when we were sleeping last night, they killed 2 more black boys, a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. I'm tired. I'm fed up. No justice! No justice! No justice! We're not getting justice.
Test, 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 1, 2, 3. Test, 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 1, 2, 3.
Happy to answer. Sheila, if you wouldn't mind, thank you so much for talking to us. We really appreciate it. First and foremost, we're curious, what brought you out here this morning?
Actually, the last straw was the election. I've been social distancing because of my husband, so I've hated that I've not been able to be a part of everything that's going on. I've worked hard to get people to register to vote, text banking, and then with the debacle on Tuesday, it was just too much. So I decided I have to come out and take a stand.
Sheila's referring to the election here in the state of Georgia on Tuesday, a huge mess, different precincts that had a lot of issues. A lot of people felt disenfranchised, right?
Exactly. And when you go through all the trouble to register, to find your polling place, the last thing you want to do is go and stand there for hours to do something that you should just be able to walk in and walk out.
Now, when I spoke with you earlier, you told me that you watched the footage of Rayshard Brooks' encounter with police Friday night. What's your initial reaction? What did you feel watching that?
Not again. I didn't really want to watch it. I waited a while before I did watch it until basically I could tolerate it because I'm tired. I have a 21-year-old son. I have a lot of nephews and cousins, and it's just hitting too close to home. Every time my son leaves the house, I wonder, sometimes I'll text him just to see if he's okay. If I hear something, I'm making sure it's not him. It's too much.
And one of the things that we saw over the weekend that we have to ask you about, protesters burned down that Wendy's. What was your response to that?
I don't know who did it, but from the very beginning, I've always said, who am I to judge? I don't know how long people have been hanging on to anger. I feel like some people are planting, but for those who've done it, that burning on the inside may show up on the outside. A Wendy's can be replaced. A life can't. It could be somebody's best friend. I don't know. So I don't judge.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, and it was sort of something that we joked about earlier when I came in and chatted with you about potentially doing this, is the fact that we're still in the age of COVID, and you have to be careful how you behave, and you know, a lot of people have been trying to stay home, but still we see so many folks come out to make their voices heard. How do you balance remaining safe, remaining at home, staying away from potentially catching the virus, with making sure that these legislators hear your voice and that change happens because so many folks are out on the street?
Well, before now, I've been calling. I've called people at the Capitol to stand your ground, different laws. But this was just because to me, ultimately, if we can vote the right people in office, that'll help with a lot of this stuff. So that would be my last hope. At least if I can work on that. So when that went crazy on Tuesday, I said, I prayed, and I just have to come. I try to distance myself so I'm not with the crowd, but I have to come, and I just pray God covers me like he is everybody out here.
Sheila, again, thank you so much for talking to us. Really appreciate your perspective. I'll give you the elbow this time. There we go. Thank you again. So Facebook, we're taking your questions. They're going to be texted to me. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. Give me just 1 second here to unlock my phone. And so we're taking our first question. It's from Amaya. She asks, is there a lot of police presence? How many protesters are there? Right now, there hasn't been much of a police presence here at the state capitol. If we want to pan around, we can show you that there are still quite a few protesters left, not nearly the size of the crowd that we saw this morning. To be honest, it's really hard to get a gauge on how many people there were. I can tell you that as we were walking down the street, I got a chance to look at really a sizable portion of the crowd from the front, and it was just like a sea of people as far as the eye could see. So hard to give you an exact estimate, but there really has not been the sort of law enforcement presence interfering with protesters as they move peacefully the way that we've seen in some other areas. Now, Melissa's asking me what were the speeches about this morning. Specifically, there were a couple of issues and laws here locally in Georgia that speakers highlighted. One of them is the standard ground law. That's something that several people talked about wanting to see repealed. Another is a citizens arrest law here in Georgia that folks wanted changed. A variety of different speakers, largely talking about voting also and trying to make sure that everyone has their voice heard when elections come up and that they're not disenfranchised, as you just heard Sheila discussing. Here's some more questions. Johnny's asking, how can people show support? Are there organizations in Atlanta that people can reach out to? I think Sheila probably eloquently described the difficulty of the situation. There's the desire to do something. There's a desire to help, to show face, to have a presence in the community, and you have to balance that with the reality that we're dealing with a pandemic that has killed more than 110,000 Americans. So I think ultimately it's a personal decision. As far as organizations, the NAACP of Georgia set all of this up today, so that's one course of action that you can take, supporting the NAACP in your local community, wherever you might be watching from. Here we go. We have a question from Kristen. He asked, do we expect charges against the police officer? So there were actually two officers involved in the incident on Friday night with Mr. Brooks. One of them, the first officer who responded to the scene, Officer Bresnan, he was involved in that scuffle, but he ultimately was not the one who fired the shots that killed Brooks. He has been placed on administrative leave pending the ongoing investigation. The officer who did shoot Brooks, his name is Officer Rolfe, he was terminated almost immediately. And of course, we saw Erica Shields, the chief of police in Atlanta, she resigned on Saturday. The investigation is still ongoing. CNN spoke to the district attorney here, who basically told us that the investigation is still ongoing. They didn't want to predict the future, but they said that in their eyes, the incident that was captured on camera was inappropriately handled by the police officers, and they said that they would not be surprised if there were charges filed potentially as soon as Wednesday. We're still taking your questions here, and I have to look at them at my phone, so pardon me for a moment as I look down. We have a question from Kim who asks, are people there hopeful there will be police reform? It's difficult to say. I've spoken to people all over the spectrum. Some folks are very angry. They're agitated. They're tired of being peaceful and protesting peacefully in the streets for change. Many of those folks have been to many of these protests, and so there is a sense from them that more needs to be done, whether it's physical action or just at the voting booth, to try to force a change in leadership that would then create change in police departments. There are folks who feel that there needs to be changes to police unions, for example, that police are often treated leniently when it comes to these sorts of incidents. I should point out that it is very uncommon for a police officer involved in a police shooting of a unarmed or relatively unarmed man to be fired the way that this officer was. Remember, the incident showed that at one point, Brooks grabbed a taser, turned around as he was running, he fired it sort of indiscriminately. The video shows that he kept running, and that is when he was shot. So it's not as if he posed a direct threat to that officer in that moment. Now, we have a question from Rob who asks, do we expect the protests to continue throughout the week? It's unclear at this point. There are events that have been set up not only in Atlanta but also throughout the country to continue putting feet on the pavement, so to speak, and getting in the face of lawmakers, making different sorts of statements. It's hard to predict how long this is going to go. What I can tell you is that in speaking to the rapper Jeezy, who emceed the speech that we saw earlier, he talked about the importance of keeping momentum going, of making sure that this message does not fade away over the course of a few days. And really one of the things that stuck with me about talking to him was that he said that this feels very different than what he's seen historically. He mentioned specifically Martin Luther King Jr. and the crowds that gathered in that era. And he talked about the fact that in this day and age, it's a much more diverse, much more inclusive crowd. There are all sorts of different ethnicities out here, people of different ages, people who actually brought their entire families out here, very young children, to see this in person. I spoke with one mom, her name was Yasmin, who brought her 2 young daughters out here, who told me that it was important for her kids to see this in person to make sure that they understood that their voices could be the catalyst for change. Now, we are continuing to follow these questions. We've got one more that's from Sam, and it says, are people trying to socially distance at the protests? You know, Sam, to be honest with you, it's nearly impossible because it's a large crowd of people moving through streets that are blocked off for them. So it's really difficult to keep 6 feet of distance. What I can tell you that is certainly promising is that almost everyone that I've seen today is wearing a mask. People are passing out free hand sanitizer. So it's really something that is top of mind, but it's close to impossible to try to socially distance while you're in the middle of a protest. So I'm Boris Sanchez for CNN. This has been our Facebook Live here at the March on Georgia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Feet up, and we would have had another loss of life. So, trying to justify the actions of shooting at Mr. Brooks as he's running away in a crowded Wendy's parking lot, when you can easily catch him later for what started off as a very non-confrontational situation, it can't be justified. It cannot be justified. Otherwise, we're going to continue to lose lives from stray bullets shooting at someone that should have never been shot at. And people ask, how could this have ended? Why did he resist? Well, it could have ended there. Well, it also could have ended here. I can walk. My sister's house is right here. That's how this could have ended. It didn't have to go to that level, and that's what we're saying in America with policing, is this type of empathy is gone. The courtesy of an officer, it wasn't like he was called there because Mr. Brooks had been swerving and was a danger to society. The first call was because a man was asleep. Where is the empathy in just letting him walk home? That's what policing is supposed to be, no matter what color you are. But as they said, that's broken, that's gone. We don't see that often, and we definitely don't see it in the African American community. So just like the protests before, that's what we're demanding. It's not just laws and policy changes, but a mental change in policing, which is missing. So we do want everybody's support. We're looking forward to the DA's findings in this situation. And the only thing that we can ask for is some semblance of an idea of justice, because there is no definition anymore of what it is. But what we know right now is that a man's life was taken when it should never have happened.
Right now, we want to introduce everyone to Tamika, who many of you have met, and the kids, Blessing, Memory, and Dream. Blessing, it was her 8th birthday when her father died. She had her birthday party on the same exact day that they found out that their father was killed. She had her birthday dress on, as all of you have heard. She had cupcakes and friends over. She was supposed to go skating with her dad, and that didn't happen, of course. So, also, Also, Makai, who's 13, is his stepson, and he took care of him as well. And Tamika, you want to say a few words?
I just want to thank everybody for all the protesting, love, and support that you guys have done. Words can't explain how thankful I am for everything. Even though I can't bring my husband back, I know he's down smiling because his name will forever be remembered. And no, there's no justice that can ever make me feel happy about what's been done. I can never get my husband back. I can never get my best friend. I can never tell my daughter, oh, he's coming to take you skating or swimming lessons. So it's just gonna be a long time before I heal. It's gonna be a long time before this family heals. And I just, like I said, I'm just thankful for everything that everyone is out there doing. And I just ask that if you could just keep it as a peaceful protest, that would be wonderful, because we want to keep his name.
Tear gas powder is being deployed, and it's going downwind, so everybody over there is about to get hit with tear gas. Oh my god, watch out, watch out, watch out! Ah! Those blasts are releasing some sort of, they blow up, and some pieces of them hit you. Other than just a loud bang, pieces of like projectiles come from them, and they just hit me multiple times. Again, like, oh, fuck! Tear gas is going downwind. My eardrums are not going to be happy with me. Not in the slightest. Fuck you! They're taking her to the medic. I'm gonna stay on the ground. They're taking her all the way back to the medic booth. threw that right out of her. She's wearing a dress. I mean, it's not like she's strapped with protest and fucking worse. She's wearing a dress. Oh my god! Sorry for my scream joke. Ow! Fuck! That shit, like, hits you every time. Oh, fuck. Somebody from my direction. Ow! My spot! You guys, that one got me right in the arm. I think I might be bleeding. Fuck. Christ. Oh my god. A dress. I mean, it's not like she's strapped with protest and fucking worse. She's wearing a dress. Oh my god! Sorry for my scream joke. Ow! Fuck! That shit, like, hits you every time. Somebody from my direction. Ow! My spot! You guys, that one got me right in the arm. I think I might be bleeding. Fuck. Christ. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Don't touch your eyes. Don't touch your eyes. Oh my god. Don't touch your eyes. I need saline. I need saline. I need saline. I need water. I need medic. Medic. I need water in my eyes. I need water. I need water in my eyes. I need water in my eyes. Please. It's okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, was it? Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, I guess we're all ready. Oh my god, guys, that was so painful. Careful! mask is soaking wet now. I can't even wear my mask because if I do, it's like waterboarding myself. I now have to run without my mask because I had a gallon of water dumped on my face or saline solution to get rid of the tear gas powder. I watched a tutorial that you're not supposed to touch your face because it just compacts the powder into your eyes, and thankfully I was able to recover from it. I can see my dog. Let's walk a little back. Thank you. Thank you.
You?
Why are you even here? Okay. I'm good. I'm good. Got it. Okay.
Let's stay with the group.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Right here, everybody. Shout out. Sorry. Some folks don't want to be on the live stream because they can lose their jobs for supporting the protesters. I know I've heard from numerous medics who said that, so I apologize to her for that. I just wanted to thank her. I want to get back to the scene here now. Oh my god, I didn't even think I was in the breezeway of the tear gas, but it just took over my whole face there, y'all. That was the worst I've ever gotten. I couldn't even breathe there for a minute. I'm really grateful I watched that tutorial, and I really hope everybody out here is safe. Oh my god, look at this guy. Everything! No, I'm okay. Thank you though. Y'all, not all heroes wear capes, okay? Not all heroes wear capes. Holy shit. Thank you, medics. Shout out to the medics. Shout out to the medics. God damn. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I never thought I was gonna have to use medic or leave their services in white American the reality. They would tear gas all of us like that, but they have, they will, they'll do it again, and it looks like that time might be now, so I'm turning back around. Yeah, now I want pizza. Damn it. Oh my goodness. Yep, here we go. We got cops on bikes. They're chasing after. Sorry, excuse me. Just wipe off my screen, make sure you guys can see this okay. Again, see, it releases every time they throw off one of those things. One of these things whacks you like super hard. I've gotten a number of them lobbed at me. We've got. There we go. So this is my 9th day out here in this bullshit. Hey. Hey. Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you guys again. I'm gonna hang out here for a minute. I'm okay right now. Thank you. All right, y'all, don't call me a coward. I'm sorry, my eyes need to recover. We got people down the way here. I rest for a minute. I am inside. Austin. That's my friend Austin. Austin, be careful, buddy. My little revolutionary. You guys, okay? You guys okay? I can help you. Is that okay? Oh my God, they were way louder. They threw them right at us. I mean, I have a. See if I can get the. Do you see it? Okay, I'm being positive right now. Thank you guys, I really appreciate it. You good, buddy? Okay. I know, chaz. Where are we going? I got some. Yeah, I'm okay. I got some saline in my. I'm good. Austin, thank you, buddy. I'm okay, y'all. I just needed a minute. Yeah, actually, water would be great. Thank you. I got hit pretty hard. No, whatever. Doesn't matter. Thank you. Yep, that's fine. We're already mucus everywhere, all over everyone's faces. I mean, tear gas irritates our mucous membrane, so we're just phlegm central out here. Might as well. When we say racism is a pandemic, this is what we mean, y'all. This is what we mean. So we got Felipe back in here. What's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm all right. I wasn't there for a minute. We got our boy Austin. I would wear my mask, you guys, but it's soaking wet. It's covered in water, so I can't practice social distancing while I'm trying to breathe. Turn it back around. We got medics with their hands up. I'm sorry I'm not being more responsive to the comments. I really am just trying to catch my breath and survive out here. Okay. My other side. Yeah. Here, will you hold my phone while I check it out? It doesn't hurt right now. You guys see all the people that dip in my screen to stay off on the shark down and I can't arrest us, let's go. They can arrest us for a run. Like last night, they arrested us for that group. Even treating, they're pulling back. We've done this before, we know what happens. Seattle PD will just shoot bullets from a whole block away, a whole fucking huge ass city block. Rather than advancing on the protesters. So I know it's gonna get bad, so I gotta get back up there. Sorry, you guys. Pardon me. Oh, back into this mess. This is some white people shit. You know, they say that white people run towards danger rather than away from it. This is it.
Fuck you, racist! Fuck racism!
Well, I appreciate everybody sending ounces of love over the comments and solidarity.
Like,
But
you
I would
see me
appreciate
live
even more
streaming. I'm
if
sorry
everyone go to
it
the
sounds
link that's
rude,
pinned
but don't call
in
me
the
when I'm
comments
live streaming,
and
right?
send
Fuck.
our
Especially when
Seattle
this is
City
going
Council
on. I don't know who
emails.
that was that just called
You
me.
just do the one email address and blast them. Let them know that we want the mayor to resign. They've said they're not going to use tear gas. They've used tear gas. They said they were going to show their badge numbers. They haven't always had their badge numbers shown. They said they were going to practice de-escalation. They intentionally practice escalation day after day after day. Today, you know, I think the people are just fed up and it's boiling over. You can hear them say, hey, please don't advance on this any further. It's like, yeah, bitch, you've been abusing us all week long. Now we're going to just give in to your demands. I don't think so. So people are upset. People are angry. And rightfully so. I've been out here every night. I've watched it. SPD has been engaging in excessive use of force, using tear gas, using pepper bullets, using flashbang grenades. You saw that one poor girl. I don't know if you saw it, but they threw it like right at her. And poor thing, she couldn't have been more than 20 years old wearing a dress out here. So, if you're out here standing in solidarity with the protesters tonight, but you have not signed that link in the comments, then you did not stand in solidarity with the protesters here tonight in Seattle. Okay? I appreciate everybody for tuning in, but I mean it, y'all. We have to have a multi-pronged approach out here in these streets, but then out there in those digital streets as well, sending emails. All right? Right now, the Seattle City Council members said the best thing we can do to support them, ousting the mayor, is to send mass emails. Let them know. I need their inbox absolutely flooded. I'm talking like 10,000 emails tonight alone. We have the vigil here of George Floyd. You can see things have been knocked over and broken. We've got someone out here trying to restore the vigil as best they can.
Flashbang.
Thank you for doing that. Just flowers and candles strewn everywhere. You see the wax just freshly strewn about. We are on 10th and Pine in Seattle's.
What's that? I don't know. That's Carolyn down there, though. She's coming down and talk to you.
Again, I'm here for a second day because my son wants to come and be a part of the movement and see what's going on. Black Lives Matter. Somebody's selling t-shirts. I wonder how much they're selling them for. Are they leaving? She leaving? Come on, get on. Come on, let me get this spot. People calling. Is Slim leaving or is she taking a break? Come on, y'all. Is she leaving or is she taking a break? Is she leaving? They doing what now? Baby, that ain't no good. Let me see what you got. They taking food. What? But they burned the place up, so how is the food still in there? Oh, really? Y'all hear this? Y'all see this? Y'all see this live? Y'all see this live? These folks are taking the food out there. Did y'all find the safe? That's what I want to know. Did y'all find the safe, not the food? Did you find the safe? That's what I want. Did you find the? Did you find the cash register? I got a mask. You need a mask? I got a mask. Move, no. I got a brand new mask. You need a mask? You want a brand new mask? Here go a brand new mask.
I need some buns.
No, you see how? Oh, she's trying to get out. Okay. All right, man. Get up. Get from behind the car. Come on. Come on. Dude is they done went in the Wendy's refrigerator. Go ahead, babe. I'm waiting on her to come out. He got the little boy with him. No, so you see how the hood operate while you be sitting there taking life for granted, taking all of your luxuries for granted. What is this lady doing? Is she gonna come out or not? They are now. What they're doing now, y'all. They're going inside the Wendy's because the refrigerator. I'm getting ready to park right here. Thank you. Because the Wendy's, because the Wendy's refrigerator was not burned down, and that's what is that, a steel type of refrigerator, and it's a freezer. They are now going.
And we're hoping to be able to include that as part of our go-forward strategy with respect to surveillance, especially around how many people have actually gotten the virus but may not have ever been reported. The Medical Advisory Board has referred to it in our conversations as an evolving technology, and on a small scale basis, for example, I think we all would agree that the work that was done by MGH in conjunction with the City of Boston was done under sort of a controlled research environment. But if you start getting into a grander scale use of this, I think we would like to get a little more positive feedback from the advisory board.
Governor, I was wondering if I could get a comment from you on this veteran.
I have two of you talking to me at once here, Jonathan.
There was a veteran that died in Bedford, a 62-year-old, and it's kind of outrageous. The veterans groups are really concerned. This guy was missing for a month and ended up being at the VA campus. It's complicated by the fact that he lived at a privately run place being leased by Caritas. Are you guys looking into this, and can you comment on it?
The answer is we've had informal conversations with the people who are involved in this. We haven't made a decision about whether to enter into a formal investigation. But obviously the whole thing is a terrible tragedy.
How about the protest? It's been about 2 weeks since the big protest in Boston occurred. About 2 weeks. I'm curious, we have yet to really see a big spike in it. Is that encouraging? Or is it really just too early to tell whether or not the protest has had an impact on transmission?
Well, I think part of the reason we're making the announcement that we're making today is we started thinking last week about creating some mechanism to make it possible to get some sense about whether or not there was in fact transmission that came out of the gatherings that have taken place so far. And part of the reason for doing them in a wide variety of sites around the Commonwealth is because I think there were almost 300 events of one kind or another that took place that had more than 100 people. And as you all know, many of them had more than 1,000. And while a lot of them, people wore face coverings and they were outdoors and people were moving, there was also a lot of chanting and yelling, and those right up there with singing is one of the things that a lot of the medical community worries about. And I think this is one way of trying to encourage people to get tested, not just for themselves, but also for those who are their close contacts. And as I said, anytime you have a big group that gets together like that, it can be risky in this environment. And we would like to see what some of that data shows. Say again? I view that stuff at this point as sort of too soon to tell. I mean, it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to start to show symptoms.
What about the nuts and bolts of the testing program you're announcing today? Do people have to make an appointment? Do they just find out where it is and show up? And is there any thought to doing it over the weekend? How it work?
You know, the weekends actually end up being less great from a testing point of view.
So the 52 sites across Massachusetts, the nuts and bolts of it. If you go online, some of them are by appointment, and some of them are walk-ins. So we make it very clear on the website which ones are by. Some are a combination walk-in appointments, some are appointments only, some of them are walk-ins only. One of the things we asked all of our partners was to flex their time, because a number of them already do testing. So it was very important. We didn't want to tax the testing capacity we currently have, so that we're assuming, and we would be thrilled if we actually had an additional 10,000 people tested each of the 2 days. So we've planned for an additional 10,000 each day, and have done that through expanded sites as well as expanded hours. So we were trying very hard to have early morning hours into the evening hours over Wednesday and Thursday, to serve and really encouraging people to go. So it's a mix.
Are too few people going out and getting tested? I mean, you have a big gap between your capacity of what the testing and the number of people who are actually showing up to get the test.
Well, as you know, last week the city of Boston provided 2 days of testing and was hoping to have, I think, 1,000 people a day. And I think their numbers were between 1,200 to 1,500, again, in response to the mass gatherings and protests. And they don't have their test results in, which goes to your question. So the testing that happened in Boston last week, the test results are not yet in. So between 1,200 and 1,500, they were hoping to have 1,000 a day for the 2-day period, and have yet to get the test results. I'm sorry, what was the rest of that?
Just the gap.
Yeah. So again, we want to build capacity. So in the event that we needed to flex because of mass gatherings and the like, right, you have that headroom in order to have people tested and have the lab capacity. So you always want to have more lab capacity than the ability to test, because if you all of a sudden had a surge, right, I don't want people then waiting 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 days to get the lab results back. So the ability of having capacity is the ability to then decrease the time people are waiting to get their test results. That's one thing that's very important. And as we continue to open up our economy, right, more employers may want to have people tested. Universities may want to have people tested. So you want to have that capacity. So, the fact that we had 9,000 to 10,000 people yesterday tested, I think we continue to get the message out that if you are symptomatic or asymptomatic close contacts, we want you to be tested. And we have the capacity to get the tests done.
Governor, can you share anything more about your police certification bill, like the important points that you really want to make sure you include in that?
So we've been talking to the Black and Latino Caucus now for about 6 to 9 months about implementing a certification program here in Massachusetts for law enforcement. And they have those kinds of structures in many other states. And for us, it's an issue around transparency and accountability. And I think if it hadn't been for COVID, we actually probably would have had this thing done a couple of months ago, but that got in the way. And I do think, based on the conversations that we've had with the caucus and with others, that the legislature is very interested in engaging in this discussion. And it's our hope that this legislation, after we file it, can become kind of a platform for that dialogue, and that over the course of the next 45 days or so, before the end of the formal session, we can get something passed here in Massachusetts.
Can you talk about some of the parts of it that you think are really crucial that give it teeth?
I think we'll talk more about that when we file it.
Could I throw a quick hypothetical at you, and I might not love these, but if you do see a spike coming as a result of this two-day testing or any other type of testing, and a lot of people are concerned about a big spike in the fall that could be more dangerous, more deadly than the initial, would you act quickly to pull the trigger to roll back the reopening?
Well, remember, one of the main reasons we put a pretty robust contact tracing program in place was so that if we did see increases in cases, that we'd be able to make sure that we identified those cases quickly. That's part of what making this testing available is about, and then connect with and help isolate whoever their close contacts were for the same purpose. In the end, we fully expected that at some point we would start to reopen our economy, and that we would try and do it on a cautious and careful basis. But the assumption there was that as that happened, as the Secretary said and as the Lieutenant Governor said when we announced the reopening plan, we are expecting that there will be more people who will want to get tested and need to get tested. And the whole point behind expanding testing capacity and having a robust tracing program is so that we can quickly identify people who test positive, help them isolate, identify the people who are their close contacts, and help them isolate. In some cases, the close contact is going to be the person that gave it to them in the first place. So I think the most appropriate thing we need to do is make sure that our testing ability can ramp, and that we do have a pretty significant tracing program in place to be sure that we can actually reach out, connect with, and help those people isolate. Because the way you really get in trouble with this virus is the reproduction rate. You know, how fast does one person become 2, become 4, become 8, become 16, become 32, and the like. And that brings me back, by the way, once again, to all the messaging and all the hard work that people in Massachusetts have done with respect to distance and face coverings and hand washing and hygiene. And I can't tell you how important that stuff is as a big part of the prevention strategy. But if we do these and a bunch of people get identified, we'll work hard to make sure that we help them isolate and that we help their close contacts isolate, because that's ultimately going to be the strategy, whether it's now or in August or in September, that's going to be fundamental to our ability to limit the spread of the virus, along with all the stuff that we've always talked about doing and that people have been really collaborative and supportive of doing.
But if you do have an increase, you're ready to roll back reopening? I mean, we could have to take some steps back if it gets dangerous again?
Well, we've said all along that our goal here is to be cautious about the way we move forward and to use our testing and tracing program to make, sort of quick adjustments to deal with hotspots or issues of significance, either that involve particular populations or issues that involve particular geographies and communities. And we would much prefer that strategy than some other.
Governor, what's been your personal experience with the reopening? Have you gone shopping? Have you gone out to eat?
I got a haircut. I was actually pretty excited about that. The Lieutenant Governor went out to her family went out to their favorite restaurant and ate in a parking lot. And you said it was beautiful. I haven't really done much of that stuff yet.
Governor, we've been hearing that people are still having an issue with the unemployment system. Is
Yeah.
there anything you need done to fix that or address that?
So there is I think we announced this a few weeks ago, that there is a major national effort on behalf of some very sophisticated fraudsters, for lack of a better word, who are using stolen identifications, probably part of some of the large previous breaches that have happened, to basically bomb unemployment agencies with very credible data associated with particular individuals to seek to collect unemployment. And we've been working with the federal government and with other states who are dealing with this issue, and basically the end game here is to put a number of additional steps in place, which we understand create timing issues for people, and I wish that was avoidable, but we have to make sure that people are who they say they are. And that means, you know, there's usually, in many cases, a second touch, in some cases a third touch, to confirm that they are in fact the person that they're supposed to be before we can make payment. They don't lose anything in terms of their total value of what they're eligible for, but it does cost them in some cases days before we can get around to sending them the money, because we need to validate that they are who they say they are. These people have really good data who are playing this game, and they are very sophisticated, and it's very important to us as one of the states that got ahead of this, that was one of the first states to create a pandemic unemployment assistance program, one of the first states to do the 13-week extension for the people who'd already exhausted their existing unemployment benefits and put together a very significant remote call center to help the people on traditional UI. We know how important these benefits are, but we absolutely positively have to make sure that that this money goes to the people it's intended to go to, and not to these people who are trying to rip the system off.
Washington State said when they first found out about the scam hitting them, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars. How much is Massachusetts projected to have lost through that scam at this point?
I'm not going to speak to any of the specifics on that. Washington was, in fact, sort of the canary in the coal mine on this. It was their experience that led to notifications that went to other states, including ours, to give us a heads up that we really needed to get aggressive about making sure that there was representation on this stuff. But like I said, it's very important to us that people get the money they're entitled to, but it's also very important to us that they, in fact, be the people their application says they are. I was glad to see the Supreme Court ruling. I was also glad to see that it was 6-3. And I think certainly here in Massachusetts, but I would argue across the country, it's important for people to not have their employment status jeopardized by their gender identity, their sexual persuasion, or their sex. And I actually think the way this decision was worded, and I haven't read the whole thing, I've only read some of what I've seen in the news, the basic thrust of the court's opinion was your performance at work should be about your performance at work, period. And discriminating against somebody, not giving somebody a job, taking a job away from somebody simply because of anything that has to do with their sex, their gender identity, or their sexual persuasion is against federal law. I thought that was terrific. I was glad to see it.
Filter for you?
Just saying, don't touch it in case they come back and try to be Dustin for Prince.
Okay, I'm gonna start touching it, but you know I ain't used to this.
Right. I'm like, wait a minute, let me get on here with my friend because I don't know what she's thinking about. And don't be letting your baby touch nothing either. He ain't got no. You saw she had on gloves.
Let me find out. Hold on, girl. I gotta film some more action. Hold on.
Huh? Yeah.
Girl, they are over there trying to crack open this safe, and there's a huddle of them over there. And I wonder
But
how
I'm
they
sure
gonna
they
act.
clean. I'm sure they cleared out the safe and the
No,
registers
they
before
did
they
not.
left.
No, they did not. No, they did not, girl.
Oh, that's gonna be on that manager then. Whatever manager was on duty.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get you. Let me get you off of this live before you get me beat up in the hood, going
I
against the
know.
code, talking loud. Cause
Be
honey,
safe.
I might do my little boxing training at home, but I'm not a fighter in real life. I ain't got time. It had my son trying to kill somebody out here. So let me
Right.
let you get off.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, baby. Where's my child? Oh, child with the hosing with the gun, child in the hood though. Where's my child at? Did I get it? They still ain't got none. They ain't cracked it open yet. Did I get anything out of there or not? Can't pick it up. Told it home and work on it.
Water, snacks, hand sanitizer.
I'm looking for my child.
Yeah. Let it win. Let's go with the south side.
Okay, where's my child? I have to keep a close eye on him, child, because this hood stuff fascinates the hell out of him. When we were in Memphis, he used to sit up and ask me, why we can't never go live in the hood for like 30 days? Oh, of course, he's right there at the commission of the crime. He ain't far away. I told y'all he attracted to hood stuff. Very attracted to it. They got him filming and looking. Filming and looking over there where they trying to get the safe. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. He's passing our sanitizer. Y'all can get it. Did y'all YouTube or Google how to get it? YouTube. YouTube.
What kind of safe is it though?
It's a regular safe like everybody else.
You know, but that's still safe.
Yeah, that's what they're made for, protection. Still, you can YouTube it. So it's not even movable. And they'll still say they be so hard.
Yeah.
They protect in any type of fire and everything.
Yo. Nope. I'm not taking your picture. Just see the part down here. You ain't got to worry about that. I got it.
Pull the thing.
Must be a lock over there. So it's locked down.
How I want to know when this manager. You want to go half on this safe? What's cold? I got some. Thank you, baby. Come on now. Look at my son. He love being a part of the action. You ready to go? You done seen enough of the hood today? You ready to go? My son got his hoodie on in the summertime to protect his face. Got the mask on and some don't play. He probably is natural born hood, even though he wasn't born in the hood. No, they ain't gonna get it open. That's a still safe. That's why I asked him if it was movable. The what?
They stuff is safe. They money and stuff.
Yeah, because it's fireproof. That's what most safes are. They're fireproof.
So nothing in the world can open that.
Nope. And these folks talking about the cooler back here. There's stuff in it. Hold on. If I wasn't such a scary chicken, I'd sure go in there and film it. No. Come here. Wanna go look in the cooler?
Huh?
Wanna go look in the cooler?
What's in it?
I don't know, probably food. I just want to see. I said probably food. I just want to see. They done gave up on the little safe action. They couldn't get nothing open.
Go in there?
Yeah, go look and see. Be careful not step on the nails or nothing. You all right? Oh, what's in there? It's what sauces? You said what? Beans. Water? Hold on, let me go and look and see. It's wet? Oh, that's the meat and stuff the folks was talking about.
Salad. What?
What's what now? Oh, they got water in here, eggs. Man, them folks gonna get the grilling at them dang on patties. And them folks gonna be tasting like they tasting some burned food. Look at that, the ground beef that they were talking about. What's them nuggets up there? Yeah, it's still cold because they just opened. They just cracked this open. What's that juice up there, Loon? Pull that juice down at the top. Right there. Right. No, right here. Right here on the next shelf. Next one over. No, right look here? At me. Up at the top.
Oh, this?
What is that? Look, quit playing.
Yeah, that's orange juice.
Take it off. Let me see how damaged the thing looks. I just want to film and see. Okay, so that stuff probably kind of halfway damaged while they sitting up getting stuff. All right, come on, let's go. Don't drop the phone in the water. What is that right there?
That's sauce. That's like ranch.
Come on, let's go. But the only thing that protect this thing was this. What's in that? What's open there right there?
This?
Yeah, the door. Oh, that's more shit. Yeah. See, they so dumb. They didn't know nothing about this part.
It's cold.
Wow. And it's cold as hell in here. So that means all this stuff is still good. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Come on, let's go. This is crazy. All right, y'all done seen enough on the Action 5 News here. See all this rubber? Be careful now. Let me put on my sunglasses. Be careful now. All right, we get ready to go. They broke what? The freezer? It's a lot of stuff in there. The freezer's still cold in there. All right, let me go, y'all. Peace out.
Seeing that everyone agrees with the message here. How are you doing? Yeah.
No peace. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Everybody else.
No peace. No peace.
See, there's a lot of people here.
No peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. No peace.
They're moving pretty quickly here. And volunteers handing out water. Ooh. They're walking pretty fast, huh? Really fast.
Making good timing.
So these are the organizers up at the front?
Yes.
Okay, I think I might walk a little faster and go chat with them.
Yeah.
You guys are keeping good pace up here. Sweating through my suit today. We're on live on WPTV on Facebook. Can we talk to you guys about the effort today and why you guys are organizing? Tell us who you are.
My name is Madison.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm 15 years old, and I organize this protest to spread love, hopefully promote equality, and stop racism in the community.
Okay, and a lot of this has come as the fallout from catching my breath here for a little bit. You know, Ahmaud Arbery, we saw George Floyd stuff, and arrests in those cases. Is there still work left to be done?
Yes, a lot.
And what are you're young, right?
Yes.
So you can't vote, but what are you encouraging people to do?
To also go vote and speak up.
Okay.
Not be silent.
Are you surprised by the turnout? Oh, you want to speak as well? Go for it.
Yes, so we're also here, part of the reason just in the residential community is because of some of the racism here in the farms. And some of the racism that my family has faced personally.
Give us some examples.
Taking a stance here today to make that change for equality and for unity. So we've had some really hateful things said directly to us and about us. We've had people march in front of our home with a Confederate flag. We've had our basketball hoop shot out that we put in for our boys. So what we're doing today is we're calling attention to not all, because not everybody in the farms is racist, but those that are racist. And we're calling them out today and saying that we're here to take back our community too. That we have just as much rights here as anybody else. And all people of color can come out and be comfortable.
What's it like seeing so many members of the white community of Jupiter Farms out here today?
I think it's great. My husband is white.
Okay.
I'm also black and white, so my mother is white. You know, I think that's fantastic to see that support.
You might want to put your mask on. Got utility workers here. We'll continue once it's quieter. So there's some of the organizers, guys, we were talking about why they're out here. A lot of work to do locally is what you were saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's definitely a ton of opportunity for work that needs to be completed here in the farms. I think a lot of residents here have been terrified just the things they've experienced to speak out, especially people of color. But I think also they've done a really good job of sweeping it under the rug and keeping it under wraps. And we're here today to expose them.
Right.
We do have support for
many of the Jupiter Farms residents. But that 10% that don't support us, that's too much.
What feels different? Because, you know, these issues aren't new. What about now?
I think for me personally, because my family has definitely been a target. I have 5 black sons, you know, and having to explain to them that they have to be very careful when they walk out our front door is definitely different. Seeing that they feel empowered by other things that are going on in the world and being able to support them is definitely critical. And it's an honor because it's going to be their generation that changes the world. It's going to be their generation that puts an end to racism. And as parents, it's our job to support them and to continue to stand by them through this.
Something that's very hard for sure. Does it hurt that some of your sons I see are very young, that you're having to teach them these lessons this early?
Absolutely. You know, there's things, my 15-year-old's learning how to drive. It's heartbreaking to have to teach them how to start and stop by police officers. How do you teach that? Why do we have to teach that?
Right.
You know, how do we get them to understand that their stepfather, who is white, loves them unconditionally, but not all people with white skin color do? Okay. How do we help them differentiate between the two? You know, there's a lot of confusion with that at this young age, so really showing them what they need to know and what they need to grow and stand up for what they believe.
Any policy changes or like a reform that you think would be beneficial at this point to see on a local, state, national level?
Yeah, I think absolutely. So one of the things that was made very evident to us here as we were planning this protest was do not stop in anyone's yard. If you stop in their yard, they have the right to shoot you. That's not okay. You know, we're protesting in peace. If I happen to just slip off the sidewalk and walk in someone's yard who doesn't agree with what we're doing and get shot, that's not okay.
There is a subtle counter-protest element here today. What's your response to that?
You know, I just pray that as they see that we're about peace and that we're about love, that they're able to see that, you know, that they're able to see that we're not horrible people. And we want what every other person of color and so many white people in the world want today. We just all want to be treated fairly and accepted as the same.
Okay. Are you proud of your community of Jupiter Farms today? Or are you kind of patient?
Of the supporters that we've received, but I'm disappointed in the unacceptance that we face.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll let you get on. I'll catch up with you later.
Black Lives Matter!
Okay.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Okay. I want to give you guys a sense of everyone who's out here and show some of the signs and people out here today. Starting to get a little bit of rain, but I do see some umbrellas. Pretty good crowd, getting some exercise and peaceful protest in today. Again, lots of face masks on as well. That's nice to see. Got the support of the post office. Okay. Ooh. Okay, let's take another look at our progress so far. Making our way. While I catch my breath, do you guys want to talk to us about why you're out here today? Or I'm live with WPTV's Facebook page.
I think we all need to be aware of a crossroads that we've reached in this country.
Uh-huh.
We need to think about all of this in a new light.
You know, a lot of people are...
This is my little step in trying to do that.
Okay. Do you feel like some of these issues that we're talking about nationally are apparent here in Jupiter Farms?
Oh, yeah.
So if you go on to next door, you'll see just how much there is to sense in this little community as there is across the country.
So you're...
But this is a small piece of a bigger problem and bigger solutions that need to happen.
What point are you guys at mentally, emotionally right now with seeing all these headlines of social injustice?
Well, it's gotten us to the point of being so angry and disappointed that we feel like we have to come out and do something and say something by our presence here.
Okay. So silence, what message does that send?
Silence is complicity. Silence is, if not complicity, then compliance with the existing status quo. I mean, you can't be silent. And if you don't want to go to a protest, at least go out and vote for somebody who maybe can make real change.
All right. Amen. Now, as much as, you know, this is our First Amendment right to be out here and using our freedom of speech, there are some people on the other side or counter message of this protest. What's your response to seeing that out here today?
I think everybody has a right to have their voice heard. I'm not denying that. But at the same time, I don't think they're in touch with reality and where we need to be.
And we can't say that we're in touch with the black experience either. But I think they are so far in denial about what a black person, especially a black man, has to deal with in this country. They are so far in denial or supporting it.
What does being out here and using your voice, what does that acknowledge?
It basically, for us, acknowledges the fact that we understand the position that we're in more than we've done. We need to step ahead. We need to make progress. Enough is enough.
Okay, and here we are. It's been, 3 to 4 weeks of peaceful protests across the country. What kind of lasting change would you like to see in terms of legislation, policy, that kind of deal?
Well, I know it's pretty controversial, but I think remaking police departments is critical. Not just education, because that's been done, and there are some bad police, but most police really are dedicated to helping and serving. But these things are still happening. I mean, what just happened in Atlanta? I mean, that's unconscionable. It's still going on, even with all of these protests and all of this coming to the forefront. So legislation needs to be changed. We need to fix police departments. We need to give more money to education and housing and job creation. I mean, it needs to be, if racism is so systemic, then our changes need to be just as systemic.
Okay, and 2020 is an important year. So my last question is, how important is it to vote?
Oh, it's never been more important.
Voting is critical.
Never been more important than it is.
People think that they don't have a voice or their one voice is unimportant. One guy passed by us and said, this is like pointless, go home. What's pointless is doing nothing.
You wouldn't feel comfortable sitting at home watching this happen without doing anything? Okay.
Have to say something, even if it's not heard, we hear, and we feel like we need to say something.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing from just some of the people out here today about why they're out here. It is a hot and humid day. Some rain in the forecast, but that is not stopping people from getting out, exercising their First Amendment right, peaceful protesting on both sides of the issue. Trying to keep up with the comments as I can. If I see any important questions, I'll go ahead and get that answered for you guys. Again, we are in Jupiter Farms right now. taking part in a peaceful protest for social injustice. And the raindrops are falling now. Afternoon showers in Florida. There we go. What do you think, Richie? Should we keep on going?
I mean, if you want, you could order an Uber. It's not a problem.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. How far do they plan on going?
They have all the way down to Indiantown and then east Indiantown, about 2 miles down.
I think if we head back now, we could catch up with them on the end.
All right.
Okay. Did you interview any of them already?
Yeah.
Okay. The organizers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Family day out on the bikes. Yay! Hello. Man, they're really... I know. That's awesome. Good stuff. Oh. Our Jupiter Farms residents making steady progress here as we continue the peaceful protest. Some of you guys are asking where this is. I can tell you that as I pull up my map.
This is 130th.
We are on 130th Street. Thank you. On 130th. Hello. Gonna catch up on the other end.
South Far down in Indiantown, y'all going?
Yeah, they're going to Indiantown. I don't know if they'll go beyond that.
I got you.
But they're hopefully...
Yeah, hey, you know, someone chose up. It's just water.
Okay, and that's not the end, guys. There's a little gap in the line of protesters here. Those that are out here, we showed you, still marching on down the route down there. Richie and I, the dynamic duo, are gonna...
That's why we're back at it again, Chris.
Another peaceful protest, gonna catch up with... Yes. Okay. Hey guys, we're back. Sorry about that interruption. Still raining here in Jupiter Farms. Gonna be bringing you the story of this teen involved later tonight. She's behind the organizing efforts, getting this together, and I would say definitely more than 100 people out here today, despite the weather. Ooh.
Are there more?
I'm not sure.
More. I do see some.
It looks like, but they're moving fairly slow. Rain really coming down now. I thought about bringing an umbrella too.
Yeah, me too.
Currently in my back
cool
seat.
Off a little bit.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's just a little sun shower.
Richie Pergolesi, future meteorologist. Okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end the Facebook Live. Probably pick it up a little later once we get back in touch with those peaceful marchers. But for now, I'm gonna try and stay dry.
Yeah, I did. Girl, go.
Always a mystic streets of you. I'm in love, that chill divine. Some silken moment goes on forever, and we're leaving broken hearts behind. What happens here? Chorus. In the chorus. Mystify. You mystify me. What happens? Mystify. Thank you.
About 1:30 yesterday afternoon, but this is where it took place.
Okay. So the basis of the reason these folks are here right now is about that incident, correct?
Most of it, and or how it fits into, some local or national event.
Okay. All right. So, is there any update that you can tell the? Is there any update that you can tell people as far as the investigation?
Well, unfortunately, no specific updates related to the investigation, but I can tell you this, as spoken through the chief and deputy chiefs on the police department, we have every investigative hand on deck for this incident.
Okay.
We are impacted as a police community in ways that the family feels is impacted. Obviously, we don't grieve the same because it wasn't our family member, but this is a community member.
Absolutely.
So I can tell you that every investigative hand is on deck. Canvases in the area in terms of looking for witnesses and or anyone that may have seen anything, any surveillance video. Those efforts are already in motion.
Okay.
And ongoing as we speak.
Okay.
I wanted to dispel any rumor with respect to earlier accounts on Facebook, social media, that there was a subject that Facebook attributed, or those on Facebook attributed to being a white male going around the community in Northfield, in particular, North Akron in particular, in some vigilante fashion, targeting blacks. I can tell you that there's no truth to that. That's unfounded.
Okay.
We have not had any police any shootings where blacks were being targeted by someone in that fashion.
Okay.
I checked that 7 different ways this morning at 6:30 because that was so concerning. That would be problematic. So we need to put some eyes and find that out. And I'm told from our investigators, our dispatchers, our folks that's unfounded, and that unfortunately was a rumor.
Right, and we got hit hard with a lot of messages last night, and I was very careful on how we reported that.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Because the last thing we need is to create like some sort of hysteria.
That is absolutely correct.
Or a mob or a vigilante kind of thought process, right?
That is correct.
So, okay. Well, I really appreciate your thoughts. We're just gonna do a little bit of coverage here, and we'll wrap it up.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.